Hey everyone, welcome back. I am mixing things up a little bit today. It is time to get to doing some meal prepping, and I'm going to start by going through the bits and bites bins that you see behind me here. I don't get into those very often, so it's time to get a good look through them, make sure I'm using things up so they don't go bad. So let's get those out and take a look at what we can get up to. So I'm going to get into these baskets and go through them, pull out some things that I can use for meal prepping and making desserts or snacks this week. I don't get into these often enough, so this stuff can tend to get stale if I don't consciously make myself get in here and work with these items. This is my pastas and rice. This basket is more what I think of as baking, but I'm going to go through these and pull out a few things. Then I'm going to pull out the meats and the veggie bits and bites again and come up with a meal plan for the week. And I'm going to start right here in the back because I know this almond flour needs to get used up. This actually says Best by 2021. Oh my gosh. Best by November of 2022. You see what I mean? I do not get this stuff used up like I should. Okay, I did a taste test on this guy and I think he's okay. I think I'll try to come up with some kind of a bar that has protein powder in it and some of this almond flour. Let's check this guy out. Oh, that's better. Good till November of 2024. This is psyllium husk powder that I got to make low-carb bread. And I think I might give that a go this weekend because I've gone through my homemade bread from last week. Some flaxseed. Maybe I can find a recipe that takes a little flax, psyllium husk, some of those other fancy flours I have, like oat bran. This is a jar of farro, which when you cook it up, it's kind of like rice, although it is in the wheat family. So I got some quinoa. I think I might make up a batch of that. Got some chia seeds going here. 2 packages that are open. That's never a good sign. Okay. Expired in July. These are good till 2025, so see what we can get up to with that. I've got this cardamom, which I bought specifically to make chai tea, and I don't think I've made it in at least 5 years. So to make a batch of that, these are hibiscus flowers and some chastaberry tea. You know, us women who are going through those hormonal changes, both of those are really good for you. All right, I think that's plenty out of this basket. Moving on to this basket. I don't think I'm going to get up to a whole lot in here. I think I will go ahead and make a veggie lasagna. Bruno over at Donna's Homestead has inspired me to try eating vegetarian at least a couple of days a week. And he calls it the hybrid diet. So I've got some veggies that need using up, and that will be perfect. So I'm going to whip that up. And I think, the rest of this is rice and pastas, and I'm going to skip all of this for now. This is my ubiquitous meats, bits, and bites bin. I know I'm going to use this cottage cheese, which if you saw a couple videos ago, I put a half a container in the freezer. I'm going to use that in my lasagna. This sausage that I cooked and threw in there a week or two ago, I'm going to use that up. I'm going to make some sage masala with some pumpkin out of my freezer, if you saw a prior video. So these are black beans that I cooked. I'll probably use about half of that. All the sausage. What else have I got in here? Got a steak in here, you guys, a nice fillet. So I think I'll thaw this bad boy out and maybe have him with one of my sweet potatoes for dinner. This fillet was the Sprouts clearance deal, you guys. I put a red wine sauce and some feta cheese over it, paired it with some sides and leftover salmon. And as tempting as it is to grab a couple chicken breasts, that's my default for meal prepping for work. I think I'm going to use a little self-discipline and make some more curried salad. This is a turkey breast left over from my little mini Thanksgiving. That'll be just enough to make about 3 servings worth, because that will help me do 2 things. Not only use up this turkey, but I've got that bag of celery in my produce store that needs using up. So that's a double win there. I think that's enough digging in the meats, bits, and bites. Now let's have a look at the infamous veggie bin. Well, let's start with the veggie lasagna. I've got a few peppers here that need using up. A little celery, that can go in there. Mm. A half a bag of fire roasted tomatoes. That can go in the veggie lasagna. I think that's good on the veggie bin for today. Didn't clear a lot out of there, but 3 things and counting. All right, now this is my bagged veggie bin. I'm having a look-see. This zucchini will be perfect in the veggie lasagna. Got some broccoli here. This roasted pumpkin. All right, that's definitely going in. The pumpkin sage cassoulet. This is some leftover mashed sweet potatoes from my little Thanksgiving. And you know what? That sounds mighty good with that steak. Might as well, right? And I talked myself out of buying green beans at Aldi yesterday because I knew I had 2 bags of green beans in here. So I think those will be perfect with my steak. I think that's about all we need to pull out of here for now. Making a little progress every day. All right. So this is my fruit bits and bites bin. Now I have a little of this and a little of that fruit in here that I would like to make something that's been on my mind for a while for Super Bowl Sunday because it'll be Chiefs colors. I've got a box of puff pastry that's been rolling around in my deep freezer for 5 ever. I've got 3 bags of this cranberry sauce, and I also have some bits and bites of cream cheese. So I think I will make some puff pastries with cream cheese and cranberry sauce, kind of like a little mini tartlets. I've bought those before at Aldi. Love them. It's a seasonal thing. You can only get them like around Thanksgiving time. So I've never tried making them. Those will be a new recipe for me this week. Blackberries, raspberries, more blackberries. And these are looking like they really need to be used up. Maybe I'll try making some kind of a blackberry sugar-free dessert, you know, the protein bar thing. We'll see how that goes. So everything's getting dwindled down. I'm going to put all these things from the freezer in this bin in the fridge. And then as I meal prep, I'll be pulling this out. And I am looking forward to doing some meal prepping. All right, that's a lot of food out of my freezer right there. And then in doing a dig in the deep freezer for this very much abused box of puff pastry, which I will be so glad, I will be so glad to get used up on those little cranberry tarts. In doing the digging for him, I found this bag of quinoa that I cooked back in August. And instead of making some more, because I'm trying to get things out of the freezer, I'm going to be using that up in salad. So he's going to go back in the pantry. Now I'm going to rustle around in the refrigerator for a second and pull things out. First, I'm going to snack this veggie bin. I'll also probably throw some cilantro in my Mexican salad. Another item I want to use up, which is part of the motivation for making my veggie lasagna, nut for this stuff. This is the last of the pork stir fry I did last week, and that was so good. I'm going to bag that up and put it in a zippy and throw it in the freezer for a ready-to-eat meal down the road. It was too good to waste. All right, so I've got my acorn squash. I had to throw my dressing in here because I'm out of room in the end. And in digging out an onion, I came across this delicata, which I might cut that up and throw it in with the lasagna. We'll see. But it definitely needs to get cut up and thrown in the freezer at the very least. I'll probably put about half this bag of spinach in my lasagna. This garlic, I'll roast that and put it in the lasagna. The celery, I'll use about 3 stalks of that in making my curried turkey salad. 2 little bits of broccoli that are getting limp here, and these either need to go in the freezer or I need to eat them today. These 3 little peppers that I grew in my garden, those are going in the lasagna. And then I've got 2 zucchini that are getting really wrinkly. I think I'll chop him up and throw him in the freezer. That's why I have a veggie bits and bites bin, right? So that's what I've got left in my veggie bin there. Basically just some carrots, limes, and a couple of peppers. And I'll have half a bag of this spinach after I get that used in the lasagna. And one last dig through the pantry turned up these potatoes that desperately need to be used up. I'm using up all kinds of things here, guys. It's going to be a good week. and a quick dig through the Bits and Bites meat bin so that I can find some corned beef that's been in there since last March to go with these potatoes that he's using up. Corned beef and hash coming up. All right, so there is my bin full of freezer stuff that I've pulled to make my meal prep in, my bin full of produce, and my easy grab pantry bin. That's going to go in the laundry room. Now I'm going to get to meal prepping. So the wrinkly potatoes are getting paired with some wrinkly sweet potatoes I failed to show earlier. And the corned beef is already cooked. So I'm going to cook potatoes first, use about half this beef. I'm also making some sausage links to use them up and higher protein, double timing it with my sheet pan of potatoes. And now I'm going to get started on the turkey curry salad. And this doesn't take long to make. I'm going to throw it in these Tupperware containers for meal prep for work during the week. I put some fresh red pepper, quinoa, and some roasted pumpkin in there. I've got leftover salad dressing. We'll have to make some more in another day. And I had just enough extra turkey curry for a wrap at the beach next weekend. I'll throw these greens on top of these containers. And now I'm going to get started on my pumpkin cassoulet. I am so excited to make this. I made it for the first time last fall. It was kind of a hybrid spin-off of a Martha Stewart recipe. I'll put a link to that video I made down below. And this is so good. And using things up, that's the name of the game. Here's a look at the finished pumpkin stew, and I added some fresh sage on top, and I'm mixing that in just to warm it through. And now I want to give you a quick look at this delicata that I bought at the farmer's market last fall. This thing held up for 4 months almost. It's so different. I've never cooked with it before. So I sauteed with other veggies to make this veggie lasagna. I didn't bother showing you all the details. Again, I'll link that below. I also whipped up this pan of chicken fajitas to eat on during the week. I love a good sheet pan. Now I'm dashing into Sprouts to check out the clearance produce, hoping to get lucky and refill my bin. Not much luck at Sprouts today, so I didn't film. I got some Brussels sprouts that don't look too bad. I think they'll hold up for at least 5 days or so. They were $1. I hardly have any veggies, so I said yes. And check this out, $1.99 Sprouts clearance last October. I'm going to turn it into meatballs. And the last bag of pork from the Bits and Bites bin is turning into barbecue pizza. I just wanted to show everyone real quick these bins that I went back to the Dollar Tree and picked up a few more, fill in every shelf that I could, but they wouldn't fit on the bottom here because there's this extra little groove for raising and lowering the shelves right there, but there isn't one on the shelves above, so it's not quite wide enough for my meat bin there and one of these, but these are so handy. For $3. I thought they were $1.25, but turns out it was $3. But look how nice this is. You just slide it out and slide it back in. So I'm jumping in here on these cranberry feta pastry appetizers. Of course, I'm using cream cheese instead of feta because it's more economical and it's a pantry challenge. It's a pinch of thyme and a pinch of salt. That's all that goes in here, plus 1 egg. The recipe, the only thing confusing about it is it says to take half of the box of the puff pastry, which every one I've ever had, there was 2 in there. So 1 sheet. And then it talks about dividing the 3 sheets into 30 pieces each, which is, I think the author of this recipe got a little confused there. So I ended up cutting this into 36 pieces, and I'm here to tell you that is the way to do this, just in case anybody else feels confused by that part of the recipe. The rest of the recipe was clear as day, and I loved it. I'm making way too much, so a lot of these are going to the office with me on Monday. But it's so fun. This was really a fun little recipe to make. And really not hard at all because I already had the leftover cranberry sauce. The little cream cheese thing took no time. The only thing that takes a little time is putting the little pastry pieces in these mini muffin cups, but no big deal. And then spooning it in and squirting the cranberry sauce. I just cut a corner of this bag. That made it super easy. And I used whole cranberries in my sauce, and I went for about 2 berries per cup. The recipe says to use a teaspoon of cranberry jelly, but obviously go with what you like. Next up, I'm making half a football which ironically turns out to look like a little Christmas tree once again. But I was just making this for me. There was no way I was going to try to make a whole football, right? But I'm glad I made it. I enjoyed it. It was fun. This is really one of my favorite things to make these days. I'm going to have to mix it up though next time and go with a different flavor profile, but I wanted to use up the pesto sauce that I had still in the fridge. Still have a third of a jar to go. But these are so fun. I'll put the link down below. And happily, this half a football and the cranberry puffs cooked the same amount of time at the same temp. Since I had to make bread dough to do the football breadsticks, I decided what the heck, I'm going to bang out a pizza. I can freeze part of it. So I made half barbecue pork, and the other half I used the fajita and peppers that I had meal prepped, and just used some Southwest dressing mixed with some sour cream for the sauce. It was so good and something I've never tried on pizza before. Now I'm whipping up some of these sausage meatballs. I've never made spicy Italian meatballs. They turned out good, a little on the dry side, but good. And then here's a look at the final spread, most of which is in the refrigerator still, of course. And I am taking it to the office on Monday. My poor office family, they're going to fluff up because of me, I swear. But, you know, a girl's got to cook now that mine have flown the coop. But this was all fantastic. Dessert was craisins, white chip, and walnut cookies. Go Chiefs! The twins sent me this picture. They're standing behind the Chiefs word there. They're short. And they'll be heading to the Chiefs parade on Wednesday. Well, that wraps up a week of marathon meal prepping, doing, and winning the Super Bowl. Woohoo! Go Chiefs! I can't believe they pulled that off at the very, very tail end. But what a blessing for all those guys that have worked so hard all year. And of course my family is thrilled, and they're all planning on going to the Chiefs parade on Wednesday. I guess most of the businesses closed for the parade. I think that's just awesome, and I wish I was there to celebrate with them, but hopefully next year. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it, and I will see you all on the next one.